This video is part 3 in a 5-part series on automotive vibration analyzers. In this episode, we will be covering the Vitronics MTS 4000 NVH analyzer. This analyzer came out actually back in the mid to late 90s. It was used by Chrysler field service engineers for diagnostics, and it had software on it at the time dedicated to Chrysler Dodge vehicles. And then the kit was made available to the aftermarket and also available through Ford and the Rotunda tool supplier. And I purchased this one back in 2008. Is actually when I got this one. I think I said in the first episode of this series that I bought it in 2007, but I bought this in 2008. And in the first episode of this series, I said that I was really upset because this tool, which cost close to $4,000, had software that expired after 2 years, and I was not very happy with that. And when I called to renew the software that I did not even know I had to renew when I purchased it, nobody told me that. The cost to renew it for just one more year was around $300, and I thought that was ridiculous, and so I refused to do it. And so that would have been 2010 when it expired, and so it's just pretty much been sitting on my shelf since 2010. I get it out every once in a while to show my students how aggravating it is to have been misled, in my opinion, by a company that sells you a tool without letting you know, oh, by the way, this is going to quit working in 2 years. So when I decided to talk about it in this 5-part series, I was pretty sure that I was just going to tell you that it didn't work and show you the screen that says the software is expired. And so just a couple of days ago, I decided, well, I better call and make sure that it's still the same policy. You still have to pay to get the update. And I called the Ford Rotunda tool program people, and they said, well, give me your email address. I'll send you some information on what to do. And so I did, and I never got any email sent to me, which was kind of surprising. But that got me thinking, and so I searched on the internet to see if somebody else had run into this problem, because several years ago when I searched for the same thing, I couldn't find anything. But now I found all kinds of things on the internet about updating this software, and there was actually a link to a PDF document on the Ford website, and this document tells you how to download some software for a firmware update for this MTS 4000, and it actually changes it to the MTS 4100. And the MTS 4100 does not have expiring software. And so I thought, oh, fantastic. I wonder if this still works. And actually it says in the first paragraph here, effective April of 2013, there is no longer a requirement to purchase a license to run the MTS 4000 NVH analyzer. Ford dealerships can download a file that will update the MTS 4000 to an MTS 4100 that will not require a license. Once the MTS 4000 or MTS 4100 unit is updated to an MTS 4000, no further software updates will be required. And so just follow these steps. And so you download this file. There's a link in this PDF document that still works, at least as of yesterday. And you download the file, expand it, you connect a serial data cable to the MTS 4000, as if any computer has a serial data port any longer. I had to get a USB to serial port adapter, and luckily that did work, and went through and did the firmware update. I had to put a new BIOS battery in, so I had to take apart the piece of hardware itself, the MTS 4000, and put a new CR2032 battery. It's the same battery that comes in many key fobs for keyless entry systems on cars. Anyway, the good news is that all of you out there that have a bricked MTS 4000 that has expired software, you can download this for free, at least as of yesterday, and upgrade the MTS 4000 to a 4100. But the date on this update is 2010, and that is the last update that I can find on the internet. And so I thought, well, in all fairness, since I'm going to be shooting a video on how to use this vibration analyzer, I'm going to call Vitronics, who has been bought out by Bosch Automotive Diagnostics, and talk to them just to make sure that I've got everything that I'm supposed to have. I first checked on their website, and to my surprise, I couldn't find anything on the MTS 4000 or the MTS 4100 analyzer. Nothing at all. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. I kept searching on the internet, and I found on the GM Dealer Equipment website, buried in a deep menu, you can apparently still buy the MTS 4100 NVH analyzer for $3,183. Oh, if you want the Driveline Balance Kit, it's an additional, what is that, $565, and the sensors are $355 each. I thought, wow, okay, so it's still available. Somebody's got to be supporting this. And it claims that it'll plug into GM vehicles and read the VIN number and read engine RPM and everything. The firmware that I downloaded from Ford only supports Fords, and I have to assume that only through the 2010 calendar year, which would probably be the early or even all of the 2011 model year vehicle. So I called Vitronics themselves and went through a layer of phone options and finally got through to their technical support people, and they say this tool is no longer available. There's no support for it. There's no software downloads available for it. There's nothing available for this tool. It's discontinued. So that's that. But I'm still going to show you how to use it as a vibration analyzer, and that, along with the Vibrate software package that I showed you in the last half of the EVA NVH analyzer in episode 2, you can still use this to pick up vibration frequencies and amplitudes for any vehicle out there. And maybe I didn't mention it in the episode 2 yesterday, but the EVA works on any vehicle. It's not just one particular brand. Even though there was a Ford kit and a Chrysler kit and a couple of GM kits, it doesn't matter. Vibration frequency is vibration frequency. It's not brand specific. The only thing brand specific was in the automatic modes, of which it tried to tell you what was wrong with the vehicle. This has an automatic mode also that only works on Fords up through 2010 calendar year. and I'm not sure how far back it goes, but it is going to have the same limitations, and I recommend that you just skip that part of the tool options in the menu and just jump right to the screen that allows us to pick up vibration frequencies and amplitude or harshness readings. Okay, so let me open up this kit and I'll show you what it came with and what is still usable. So it's a nice looking package, and in the bottom of the kit here we've got the NVH analyzer itself. So this is the MTS 4000, but when we turn it on, you'll see, and let me just turn it on here. It has an internal battery. It says Vitronics MTS 4100 Vibration Analyzer, version 4.70, 10/13 of 2010, Ford, and then press enter to continue. So that's the latest version of the software I could find anywhere. I'm not saying that's the only software available out there. Maybe there's something available on Ford's own website that I don't have access to, that you have to be a dealer technician to access it, or somewhere else. But as far as what I could find in all my searching, this is the latest, greatest software. Okay, so that's our analyzer. I'm going to shut this off. You have to push and hold the on-off button to shut it off. So I'll set that off to the side. It did not come with a charger as far as charging the battery off of a wall socket. I found one that's just simply a 12 volt, 120 volts in and 12 volt 4 amp out. And then I told you to reprogram the flash software. You need a USB to serial data connection adapter, and it plugs into the COM1 port here on the bottom of the MTS 4100, and you have to configure your COM port on your computer so that this is COM1, so that they will communicate together if you do your update. The MTS 4100 did come with a cigarette lighter adapter to charge the battery. And I cannot remember, but it seems like it charges off of the data link connector. Pin 16 is constant battery power, and pin 4 is ground. In this compartment it says phototachometer. It has a magnetic base stand for a dial indicator. I noticed they picked the highest quality Harbor Freight tool available. Very impressive. And so I'll just stick that in there for now. I'm joking about the very impressive. I'm not a Harbor Freight fan at all. Okay, then in the upper portion of the kit, we've got a box over here labeled sensors, and so here is our vibration sensor. It has a magnetic tip on it. I've got a washer on there right now. Anytime you have an open magnet like that, if you allow it to stick to something metal or ferrous ferrous metal like steel, it'll help keep the magnet stronger longer. So this has a scope lead connection that's going to plug in to the top of the MTS 4100. There's sensor A and sensor B, very similar to the electronic vibration analyzer from yesterday, episode 2 for the EVA, but we've got up to 2 sensors. They were $355 each. This has an output for a phototachometer, and then it has a strobe light output also. It also has this port over here. It says Vehicle DLC, the data link connector. And what this tool was supposed to have done, that I think they totally blew, they didn't do a good job with at all, is in this other box here. Oh, here's the cigarette lighter adapter to charge the battery with. Over here we have a data link cable, the J1962 connector cable, and then this screws in and attaches to the NVH analyzer. So unlike the EVA, this also, what am I doing wrong? Oh, brother, it's upside down. This also, well, I'm sorry, unlike the EVA, this will plug in to the data link connector of the vehicle if it's a supported brand of vehicle with the firmware, like Ford, within those certain model years. It'll read the VIN number and try to configure the vibration analyzer for the year and the make, and then you still have to, because the VIN number does not contain which transmission or gear ratio that you have, and the transmission gear ratios. It does not tell you the tire size either. But this will also allow them to read, excuse me, the engine RPM. And if you remember on the EVA from yesterday, to use the Vibrate software with the EVA, we need an engine RPM from the tachometer or a scan tool. So this reads it directly, but only on some vehicles. It does not support the J2532 or J2534 protocol that it needs to support to be generic to plug into any vehicle, at least in this software version that I have, or firmware version. So this will give us engine RPM on some vehicles, but for the most part, it's totally useless. So unless you're working on a Ford product, it doesn't read the VIN number, or I'm sorry, it doesn't read the engine RPM. And I haven't tested every single possible vehicle out there. I have tried it on a couple of my vehicles. I have a Toyota over there, and I have a General Motors vehicle, and it did not work on either one of those, even though I punched in the VIN number. So you may experience the same thing. Okay, so also in this kit, since this came with the Driveline Balancing option, it has the photo strobe and phototachometer there, and the balancing feature that was supported by Ford, and it has this adhesive tape that you put around the drive shaft. That only worked on the Lincoln MKZ, is my understanding. And there was a kit right here that had a pinion flange. It's a pinion flange balancing kit, and you would it has washers and screws that you would put into the pinion flange on that Lincoln MKZ. Other than that, regular driveline balancing wasn't supported. So forget the driveline balancing with the MTS 4000 or 4100, unless you've got one of those older Lincoln MKZs. There may be some exceptions. I shouldn't say it won't work at all, but for the most part, the only use I see for this tool is for picking up vibration frequencies. So let me get this box out of the way, and we will do that. So just like yesterday, on episode 2, I've got this tire and wheel assembly right here that we know it spins up to around 3,400 RPM. So we're looking at anywhere from 50 to 58 to 60 hertz is what this gets up to. 3,600 RPM would be 60 hertz. It has a vibration. I'm going to take the vibration sensor that came with the kit, and I'm going to hook it into sensor A input port here. It's kind of a twist lock type sensor. And then I'm going to put the magnetic base of the sensor, take the washer off. I'm just going to put it over here where we had the EVA's vibration sensor from episode 2. So let me prop up the screen here. We'll get this turned on, and I'll show you how to use this along with the Vibrate software that I showed you in episode 2 to diagnose the source of vibration problems on vehicles. Okay, so let me get to where I can read the screen here. By the way, the screen contrast is adjustable. If you'll push and hold the Shift key and then click the up or down arrow keys, it changes the screen contrast. It's the exact same screen that the GM Tech 2 used. So I'm trying to make sure. No, it's still. Let me zoom in a little bit. I want to make sure you can read this. All right, let me change the contrast just a little bit here. There we go. Okay, you can see that that's good grief. Come on. Maybe right there. Does that look readable? I believe so. Okay, so this is just our opening screen. It says press enter, and here on the main menu, the first option, of which we've got, let me explain the keys here. We've got keys numbered 1 through 5 over here and 6 through 0 over here, and we can use those to select these menu items. So we've got menu items 1 through 6 and 9. And then, of course, down here, we've got an enter button, we have an exit button, we have the on-off button, we have a help button, a save button, the print, and run and pause. And then some of these number keys have dual functions to where we can, while we're watching vibration frequencies and amplitude levels, we can change the scale, we can change the amplitude unit of measurement, and change the unit of measure. Oh, I just told you that one. And a few other things. But right now, what I would suggest for this type of a tool is to skip the vehicle selection, because that's the one that's going to try to read the VIN number. And like I said, unless you've got between, I'd say probably, I don't know this for a fact, but I know it ended in 2010 with this firmware update. So that'd be a 2011 Ford vehicle, or it probably goes back 5 years or so, unless you've got one of those vehicles. Let's go to the second one, which is Vibration Diagnostics. So I can hit the number 2 or I can hit the down arrow. I'm just going to hit number 2. And we have Diagnostic Procedures, which it's the same as the EVA. We're going to take this sensor, we're going to put it on the seat frame, underneath the seat, on a solid of a point as possible, and then and we pick the seat because that's where the driver's sitting, and that's where they're going to be feeling the vibration that you're supposed to diagnose. And I've been using these vibration analyzers for over 20 years now, and I have not found a vehicle that I couldn't find the frequency of the vibration that a customer is complaining of by putting the sensor on a solid mount on the seat frame. The only time I've actually had to move the sensor around is when I was trying to figure out which corner of the vehicle it came from. But the vibration frequency will be the same. It's just the amplitude level will be different. So here we have Diagnostic Procedures number 1, Principal Component Display number 2, Bar Chart Display number 3, Frequency Spectrum number 4, Waterfall Display number 5, and then Replace Saved Data number 7, and number 0 is Description of Operation. We're just going to go with Principal Component Display. I could hit number 2, or I can hit the down arrow and hit Enter. And it says no vehicle has been selected. Press Enter to continue with no vehicle selected. That's what we want to do. Or we can hit Exit to go back to the previous menu. So I'm going to hit Enter because I don't care that it doesn't know what vehicle we're connected to. Now, this screen that we're looking at here, it tries to give us engine RPM, but it's not connected. It tries to give us vehicle speed. It's got a tire size that doesn't matter. It has a drive shaft speed that doesn't matter. It has VIN number selection that's no VIN selected. None of that matters. What matters is right here down, we've got vibration frequency in hertz along with the G-force, and then it has possible source. We're going to ignore possible source. It's probably going to say unknown anyway. But let me turn this tire electric motor on for the tire and wheel assembly, and let's see what we get. Now remember in episode 2 we had around 50 to 60 hertz depending on the speed of this wheel. Let's see what this picks up. So look at that top row here. We've got 34 hertz, 37, 39, 41, 43, 45, 46, 47, and they arrange these in order of highest G-force. And remember, G-force is how hard it's shaking, the amplitude level of the vibration. All right, we're up to 51 hertz with a 0.35. Remember on the EVA yesterday we had 0.34, 0.27, 52 hertz. And down below that I've got 120 hertz, 106 hertz. 106 is double the 53 hertz that we have. Got 139, we've got 33, we've got 160. I don't care about those lower ones. It's normally the first one on the list, which is the highest amplitude level that we want to pay attention to. So under possible source as no match found, and we don't care about that because the possible source is, let me shut this motor off, is the machine's attempt to match the frequency and the engine RPM to different rotating components on the vehicle. But that won't work unless it's a supported vehicle of this tool, which depending on the firmware update that you've got is either a Dodge or a Ford product of very specific model years. But with this, by going in and selecting Principal Component Display, this will work on any vehicle. Any truck, any car, heavy-duty truck, it doesn't matter. We're just going to pick up the vibration frequency, and we need to know the frequency, and we need to know the engine RPM, and then we go to the Vibrate software that I showed you at the end of episode 2 and print a graph that compares engine RPM to vibration frequency, and it will guide you through the process of isolating the source of the vibration on the vehicle. Now, Let's turn this back on just for a moment. This automatically is always saving the last 10 seconds worth of data. And I can't remember if it's the save button or the run pause button. We're going to try both. Let me hit run pause. Okay, so right there, it's just, so that's like freezing the screen on the previous vibration analyzer, the EVA. So let me hit it again to unpause it. Okay, and then let me try save. Saving snapshot, please wait. There we go, so it's saved 10 seconds worth of information. So I think the run pause is like the freeze button. It'll just freeze that particular frequency. So we've got the 55 hertz. So if you're road testing a vehicle by yourself, let me shut that motor off, and you get it up to where you feel the vibration occurring with the highest intensity, you can just hit that run pause button and it'll freeze the screen. And notice that the electric motor and the tire and wheel assembly over here have now stopped rotating, and the screen is still showing us 55 hertz and 110, and the 55 hertz matches the rotational speed of the tire. If we take 55 and multiply that by 60, that is 3,300 RPM, which is how fast this tire and wheel assembly was rotating at the time. And it's creating 1 shake per revolution, so that's a first order tire speed related vibration. So this tool, as I mentioned in the first episode, I thought was neat when I first got it, and then I was unhappy because the software expired and it wouldn't let me even use the tool from that point. So it sat for 3 years. Well, actually, it's it sat for almost 5 years before I discovered that I could have almost 2 years ago updated it to make it usable again for free when Bosch took over Vitronics. And now this tool is no longer available, no longer supported. If you break it, if you ruin a sensor or anything, you're out of luck. So a neat tool. If you've got one laying around, you can still use it for vibration diagnosis with the Vibrate software that runs on your PC. But be very careful with it, because like I said, you're out of luck if you break it or need any parts. All right, well, that has been just a quick demonstration and discussion of what used to be Vitronics, which is now Bosch, MTS 4000 that has been updated to the MTS 4100. In our next episode, episode 4, we are going to look at the General Motors version of the Picoscope NVH software. And then in episode 5, we'll look at the generic version for independent shops of the Picoscope NVH software kit. Have a good day.